Shahila, we're meeting here in a hotel. Just a few questions. One of the questions you wrote, for example, the title for the Eurovision contest of Grand Prix. Is it difficult to write and chart? Because I think people nowadays, young people, like rock music, like punk music, also in Ireland. And what you did is a little bit different from that type of music.
All right, it's a little bit different. It's also a bit the same in that we had a song. I wrote the song 5 years ago, strangely enough. And it was sitting there for 5 years. And when we did the original demo, we had a guitar solo in the middle. And then we put that demo in. And when it was accepted for our national song contest, I went to the arranger and I said, look, I want to get an urban bluesy feel. I want it to be a modern song. I want it to also fit into Europe. I want it to be appealing in Scandinavia. I wanted to appeal in Germany. I wanted to appeal in France and in the Latin countries. So we brought the saxophone in, and the saxophone has this quality of loneliness about it. It's also as tight, it's claustrophobic, it's urban, and it got the sentiment of the song. The story of the song is that I wrote this song. My mother died 10 years ago, and I watched my father trying to cope. They were very close. They were both actors. I watched my father trying to cope with being alone, and the song was about him trying to face loneliness by himself, and I wrote it about him, and I had to try and capture that, and I think that with the arrangement we have, we did, and I think it's also a very...
The question should be about the pop scene in Ireland. I think Ireland is not very far away from England, from Great Britain. Is the music and pop music scene in Ireland not very much influenced by English music?
Yeah, it's true. We are influenced, but I think what has happened now is that because of the success of people like Thin Lizzy, Rory Gallagher, the Boomtown Rats, Van Morrison, we now have U2, we have the lookalikes, we have a whole lot of bands, and suddenly Dublin has become a centre for people to come and see what's going on in music. And a lot of bands are being booked up. There's another little band called The Blaze, and I would like very much, the reason that I think it's so important that Ireland might win the Grand Prix would be that for the first time ever, this record was produced completely in Dublin with Irish musicians, with an Irish producer. Studio in Windmill Lane. We got fine engineers, we got fine musicians. We're as good as anywhere else in the world. It's just that we don't believe in ourselves enough, and I hope that we now believe in ourselves.
So it means in the meantime you're proud on the music you do by your own, not depending on England.
I think so, yeah. I think that we're now leading the way a little bit, and I think that the trend is changing. I think people are going back to more melodic music, more melodic tunes, and a lot of the Irish bands are writing some good melodic tunes now, like the lookalikes. And I think that over this next year, in 1980, you're going to see U2 and the lookalikes as two of the biggest bands in Britain and Europe, and they're both from Dublin. And I hope that's the way it's going to be. And I hope I think Johnny Logan is going to be very big all over Europe, because he's a big, tall, handsome, good-looking kid, and he's a fine singer too.
Fine singer too, you say. Talking about the pop scene in Ireland once more again, I think Ireland is not too big a market. Where is the chance to sell Irish records? Are the English people waiting for records coming from Ireland?
No, it's a very small market. Very few people sell a lot of records in Ireland. I used to sing, and I know that if you sell maybe 5,000 singles in Ireland, you'll be in the top of the charts in Ireland. But there's something else that works. If you work in Ireland as a band, you will make more money than if you go on tour in England.
Really?
Yes, because there are so many dance halls and there are so many venues. You will make a whole lot more money. And all the bands that are in maybe the top 10 on Top of the Pops or whatever in the top 10 UK charts, they are making less money than the bands who are working in Ireland, who are playing at dances every night. It's getting better. We don't have a major concert hall in Dublin. We have to put people on in all kinds of strange places, in boxing stadiums, in places where they hold agricultural shows. It's a pity, but I think slowly people are realizing that live music is very important, and live music is what 1980s are going to be about. Yeah. And Irish people are going to have a good time because we're now contributing. And I think that in the next 5 years, you're really going to see the Irish influence that was there. It's been there all along, since Van Morrison. It just takes a little bit of push from outside, people to realise. Yeah. And I think you're on a winner. You're wearing your Thin Lizzy T-shirt.
Shay, you've been talking about Dublin several times in the meantime. My question is Dublin really the centre of the music? What about the other regions of the country? What about the countryside?
Countryside is very well. Ireland, as you know, is basically an agricultural country, and we only have about 5 major cities. But slowly but surely, out in the small rural areas, the kids who presently work on farms are now coming around to rock and roll, and they're listening to Quelle, and they're listening to ZZ Top, and they're listening to let me think. They're listening to the Pretenders, they're listening to the Conquerors. They've opened up the horizons of music. Irish, you know, in Germany, Irish traditional music is very big. A lot of bands come over and play Irish traditional, Planksty, Bothy Band. But it is happening in Ireland now that we're slowly becoming more sophisticated because people are suddenly buying stereos, which we never did before. It's a strange market. And everywhere closes in Dublin at 11 o'clock at night during the winter. And it closes at 11:30 during the summer. So you don't have a club where you can go and sit down and actually watch somebody performing, which is quite strange. We have no cafe society in Dublin, which is a pity. And the bands need to perform. So most of the places they have to work are cellars, which are not very clean and they're not very nice and not very good. But hopefully, again, over the next few years, it will develop that we will realize how important we are and the contribution we have to make. And when we do, I want to be up there in the middle of all these kids.
What you just said brings me to an interesting point, because, for example, here in Germany, where I live, we have a lot of, as I call them, plastic groups. So groups that are just formed for records that don't really exist. They're just made for records. And if I understand you well, you tell me that the groups performing in Ireland are live groups, are groups that have grown, that really exist. Or am I wrong?
That's right, they're organic groups, they have grown, yeah. And you won't believe this, there are 500 show bands in Ireland. These are bands who just play at dances. These are not rock groups. They just play at dances, and they are all professional. Now, Ireland is a small country. It's only 32,000 square miles. It's about 400 miles from the top to the bottom. It's about 180 from one side to the other. But you've got 500 bands who play at dances. Then you've got maybe 200 rock bands who are working all the time. They're not making money, but they're working and they're alive, and it's all happening, and that people are working. We don't ever put together groups just to make records, except I do. Myself and my partner, we do funny records. I must give you one. If you will you play a record if I give you a record? A record about Paul McCartney being busted to Tokyo with his big bag of grass. I'll give you the record if you promise to play it.
Sophie Magali, you are from Luxembourg, and what I'm interested is the Luxembourg pop scene. Is there existing an own pop scene in Luxembourg? Is there existing a typical pop scene of Luxembourg? Has it its own scene? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what I mean, but you know what I mean.
Okay, what more again?
Il y a de tout, il y a toute la musique.
Are you?
Oui, c'est pareil, il en faut pour tous les goûts, c'est comme dans tous les pays, ça se mélange. Il y a tout.
They said that all kinds of music everywhere and everything is mixed, but they said that they have all sorts of music.
Originally, you are from France. How is it possible that people working in France are singing for Luxembourg?
Comment est-ce possible que des gens qui parlent français chantent pour le Luxembourg? En français.
Qu'est-ce que je dis? Il y a eu, ça a été choisi par le Luxembourg, il y a une sélection et puis on a été choisi. On avait enregistré la chanson en français déjà, on a présenté au Luxembourg et puis on nous a choisi, on a été sélectionnés, puis voilà.
The song was registered in French and after it was chosen by the Luxembourg.
And you